Hello everyone, welcome back, or welcome to Lone Pine Tarot if this is your first visit, but either way, thank you so much for choosing to join me for our Pick a Card reading today, which is based off of my most recent poll, where I asked you guys, what are you looking for most from tarot readings lately? And the number one prominent answer was clarity on my next steps, or, well, your next steps, of course. So today's reading will be kind of half what is the current path that you're on kind of leading towards based on everything up till this point. And the other half of this reading will be advice on getting it to the best path or outcome that you're looking for with the situation on your mind. So speaking of, keep the situation on your mind that you're wanting the most advice about as we go through and pick your piles today. So speaking of, let us choose those piles. As you can see, I've already pre-selected them. Pile 1 over here on the left is the Alder tree. Pile 2 in the middle is the Thunderbird. And pile 3 is the Black Shuck. So Alder Tree 1, Thunderbird 2, Black Shuck 3. Though as I always say, you're perfectly welcome to pause on this part of the reading if you need more time to decide. But when you have chosen your pile, drop to the description box below, find the timestamp for your reading, and I will see you in our discussion about the clarity you need for your next steps. Toodaloo. Hi there, pile number 1. Welcome to your clarity on your next steps reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the Alder tree for your pile leader. So as we always do with pile leaders, I'm going to set this one over to the left. And let's begin with drawing your oracle cards today. So first up to bat, we have your Dream Ritual Oracle, calling on your spirit guides to tell us more about what's going on with this situation on your mind, advice, a bit of a peek into what is happening. So there's the first one. Actually, I might set that one over here. There we go. Then the Healing Spirits Oracle for the second oracle deck today. And I'm feeling actually drawn to this one on the bottom. It was sticking out prominently, so we'll put that one there. And then last but not least, actually, our third oracle deck today is technically Lenormand, so we have drawing 2 of those. And I feel drawn to these 2. Actually, I'm going to take the top one. I usually don't take the very top, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm feeling drawn to that one intuitively for you. So let's unveil those first. Of course, we will see your tarot later. So first up from the Lenormand, we have the cat, which is the dog in most Lenormand decks, if you're familiar with the system. And then we have literally the dog, which is the original Lenormand card, as I was just saying. But there's 2 variants, and I have both of them in this particular deck. So the cat and the dog. Very possible, no, this might not resonate with all of you, but for some of you, that this situation on your mind is either related to like a friend of yours, or a family member of yours, or a friend group in general, family group, or it could just be a situation where the main keywords of like loyalty or friendship or like sticking to something come to mind. So it could be loyalty literally in terms of like different people, like being loyal to one another, or it could be loyalty in terms of loyalty to one plan, or maybe you're trying to decide on going to another plan and not being loyal to your original path or idea or decision, etc. Something along those lines. And as I said, that might not resonate with all of you, but that is typically what the dog, and obviously you also got the cat too, means in Lenormand, are those types of themes. But let's keep going. Okay, first up from the Dream Ritual, we have the card of Gratitude. And we have the new moon at the top there. It is not full at all. So something new energy, closing cycles, starting new cycles. So that once again makes me think maybe some of you are trying to decide to end something and start something new, or you're like, should I keep going with this and go through another cycle with my original path? And of course, the term gratitude once again makes me think of our connections with other people. So for those of you that the situation was more about, like, say, a friend, family member related thing, or friend group, etc., maybe gratitude played a really big role in kind of what you're wondering about, like how it will go, or how you kind of maybe you want gratitude from someone. That could also be another thing that's popping through, or like why that card came up is how I should say it. Let's keep going. We also have from Healing Spirits. Listen to the voice within when it persists. Number 39. So that, my friends, is a little bit more about actually following your own intuition. I think another aspect of this situation that you're wanting clarity on, you are doubting your own intuition, or you're not sure 100% if you should listen to it. Of course, you already kind of know what the advice will be, because literally it says, listen to that voice when it persists deep inside. So I think first bit of advice from spirit guides today is do follow what your voice is telling you. But of course we will see, or I'm sorry, not your voice, your intuition, which is a voice, right? We will see with the other cards, of course, more details, but I almost wonder too, for those of you, this is like a family or like a friend group related thing. Maybe there's a lot of like cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, is a phrase I like to use. Just too many people trying to mix something up, or they're kind of muddying the direction, or it's very possible that they are weighing in on something that you're making a decision on or you're trying to achieve, and it's just too many voices kind of coming at you at once, and you're wondering, well, you know, do I kind of like throw out their advice and stay loyal to my own intuition and what I think I should do, or should I be loyal to them? Because remember, loyalty has been a really strong theme, especially because you got both dog variants in my Lenormand deck today. And so it's kind of a question of, too, maybe you fear, like, well, if I don't go with what they want me to do, will they think I'm not loyal to them? Or it's kind of things around that aspect, or that kind of situation is what I'm seeing here. Some of you might even be wondering if someone will stay loyal to you in some way, and that might be where gratitude comes in as well, because, of course, when people stay loyal to us, that means they are grateful to us, right? So something, I don't know. Oh, and then I didn't mention what your alder tree means today. Well, alder in this particular deck, the keyword means protection. It is a very protective type tree in many different mythologies, around the world, especially because it tended to grow on borders, especially around like marshy water and like other kind of waterways, because its wood is very rot resistant. It is, I think technically its roots can grow in water. It's one of the very few trees that can do that without just rotting. And actually, I was reading the guidebook on this before we started your reading today, and the guidebook said that actually sometimes it strengthens its roots when it stands in water. And when we think of a tree standing in water, usually we think, you know, oh, that's something that can't last. It's something that can't stand it. It'll just rot and fall over. So maybe you have a lot of doubt about either if someone will stay with you or if this thing will work out. You have doubt that it is on solid foundations, because maybe there are some outside influences that have been telling you this, or you've been noticing this, and you're like, well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it should work out. But I think with the alder tree having popped in here, because of the way that it represents something that can grow in an unexpected place, I think that's a bit of a sign to you that something in your situation will grow and thrive in an unexpected place, but also protection too. Of course, you know, you're protected always by your ancestors, angels, etc., spirit guides, which are the main beings that we reached out today for your reading, but it just means too, I think, in this situation that you are protected. Okay, so just have faith in that. Have faith that I think everything will work out. And so far, what I'm picking up intuitively off of these cards, pile one, is like nothing turning out badly. But let's look at your tarot cards. That will give us the more nitty-gritty details, as I like to say. So, using the... what is this deck called? For some reason, it is eluding me. That's really weird. The Wild Reflections. There we go. I should know. It's one of my favorite decks because it has pine trees on the back. I don't know. One of those days, just tip of my tongue. The Wild Reflections Tarot. If you ever want to know what my decks are, I always keep them in the description, but... Okay, so this will give us a glimpse into, based on the path that you're currently on, pile one, with this situation, like, how it's going to go currently. Although, of course, with the advice from this reading and your other things we already discussed, you can change this outcome. So just keep that in mind as we go through these cards. We first have the Devil. Okay, so that as an inciting incident can mean that we feel kind of trapped in some way too. Could be we're trapped by feeling, oh, I should be loyal to the voices of other people or other people that are trying to help me, but at the same time you're like, well, should I be loyal to my intuition, what my voice within tells me to do? Or maybe there's a part of your situation where you feel feel trapped in some way. You feel kind of chained to something, because a really good phrase to use with the devil card is like a jail cell. It's the embodiment of I feel stuck in some way, or I feel like I'm kind of chained to something. Okay. And then we have the Page of Wands. Very possible that many of you are trying to explore something that is regarding a passion or creativity, or it is something that you, like one of the paths, if you're kind of at a two-way path sort of situation is on your mind, like you're like, I don't know if I should go this way or this way. It's very possible that one of the paths represents creativity or a passion of yours, okay? That might be because this is in the recent past position. This is the one that you were on, and maybe you're wondering, should I go to a different one? But let's keep going and seeing what else pops out. Then we have Judgment. Leveling up can literally mean judgment, though, in some way, especially maybe if some of you are resonating with what I said earlier about, I don't know if they're going to judge me if I don't stay loyal to what they told me to do, or will I get judgment if I go this way? Or maybe you really fear, I don't know, just in general, like it not working out, mainly through the mechanism of you fear that other people will look badly upon you if you do try this thing. Or it's very possible too that, you know, being the heart of the matter card, I call the central card of my tarot spread. What that means is kind of like an overarching theme of what's going on today in your mind or the situation. And so in that case, it can mean you're overall just like trying to level up or trying to get to the next level of something. So it could be maybe a promotion that you're looking at. It could also be that you are trying to like improve your life in some way too, especially maybe with a spiritual edge, because Judgment does kind of have a little bit of a spiritual edge, but in more literal terms and more mundane terms, it can mean trying to get to the next step of something, okay? Which makes sense because there's a clarity on your next steps reading, but in general, I would see that too as like a massive improvement that you're trying to look for, you're trying to achieve. Next, we have the Lovers reversed. Okay, another major arcana. We've actually had 3 of them so far. So this can be, this is the part of the reading where we're getting into the future prediction as well as probably the advice. And then overall, your cards will be advice too, but Lovers reversed, which can mean disharmony in relationships. And then we have the 8 of Wands reversed, which can mean slowing down. Now, this really depends, pile 1, on what you are actually looking for your best outcome with this situation. I will tell you this. If you want something to slow down or to, not necessarily pause, I mean, because that would be more like if the 4 of Swords had popped out, but 8 of Wands reversed means something like slowing down in its pace. If you want that, then you are on the right path to that. Okay? If you don't want something to slow down, like you want something to kind of pick up or go faster, then currently how I'd read this is that you're maybe on a slightly wrong path, or like there's just a few adjustments that you need in order to make things go faster or at like a greater pace than what has been going on so far. Okay, so I think, yes, most of you, if I had to summarize the situation, it seems to me, as I said, you know, be it you're looking for a promotion, be it you're trying to decide between 2 paths, you know, be it that maybe you're looking for a solution in terms of some like interpersonal relationship stuff with either friends, family, etc., what I was talking about before, you know, it's like you want it to improve in some way because of the Judgment card. Yet, you fear judgment at the same time from those other people involved. And you also fear not making the correct judgment yourself, especially because of the inner voice card that you had from the healing spirits. It's like, I don't know, it's like your intuition is telling you something and you're like, I'm not sure if I should heed it, and I'm not sure if I should just go with what other people are telling me to do. But yes, okay. So for those of you that you want something to slow down, your advice from Spirit would be to maybe tweak just one little thing, because you are on the right path towards what you're looking for, okay? But there is still some advice here. Number 1, listen to your intuition in the near future with this situation. That is very strongly emphasized with your Healing Spirits Oracle, as you remember this one up here. And also, there is a little bit of advice here for all groups, but I am still reading for the people that want something to slow down, right? with the Lovers reverse. That can represent disharmony in relationships that is actually kind of synchronous with what I was saying before, where like maybe you fear like loyalty, group dynamic stuff, judgment from other people, etc. Because the Lovers reverse can represent those things because it's about people not getting along. Now, specifically, it can mean in a romantic relationship. That's how most people interpret like the Lovers, because we think, oh, romantic relationship, love, right? But it can be between two close friends. I read Lovers as two close friends too. Can be people that are very close in terms of their family. Okay, it can also mean, sometimes traditionally the Lovers also represents a choice, and in which case that choice would be with the Lovers reversed is to weigh very carefully before you go forward some sort of choice regarding loyalty and whatever interpersonal relationships are involved in this thing, I guess, is how I would say that, or the situation that you're trying to bring to greater fruition or like to a success of some sort. Let me think about that for 1 second too, because those of you that want this to slow down, you're on the right path towards being freed from something, towards being able to explore the passion and creativity there, as we said with the Page of Wands. Just be extra careful, as I said, with how you conduct yourself with your interpersonal relationships in the near future, and then you will be fine to that slowing down that you're looking for, reduction of chaos, or maybe things kind of just getting less heated too. That could be another way that that's interpreted there with that Eight of Wands reversed. And I think your main piece of advice for that is to make sure to show gratitude and to recognize when gratitude is shown to you, vice versa, from other people. That will help maintain the loyalty, that will help maintain the path that you're on towards the thing that you're seeking here with that slowing down. Okay, and also, the other meaning of the Alder, I've just popped into my mind too, it also represents not being afraid to rely on those around you for protection. So that's another thing is, sometimes involving people in a situation, of course, if you trust them, right? Number one, trust them. But after that point, involving people in a situation and relying on them can actually bring you closer together. And that might also be the mechanism by which this Lovers turns upright in order for you to get to that slowing down that you're looking for. Okay. Now, for the second half of you that want something to speed up, you don't want something to slow down. You're like, I want this to happen faster, etc., etc. And then also, for those of you that do want something to slow down, I do have advice for you as well. So if, we'll talk about that a little bit later after I explain it for the people that want something to speed up. They don't want this outcome. So just hang on for a second. So for those of you that want something to speed up, you don't want this outcome, your advice is kind of similar to the other half of this group, where the key is to make sure to, as I said, express gratitude to others in the situation, recognize when they express gratitude towards you as well, vice versa. Also, another thing for even both groups here, or both halves of group one, I should say, is recognize where you're not being given proper gratitude, because that can also open your eyes. And maybe that's another thing too with your intuition, is that piece of advice is maybe your intuition is telling you, well, maybe these people don't appreciate me as much as they should in this situation. And if you're feeling that pile one, that's basically Spirit saying, yes, your intuition is correct. So listen to that and maybe redefine what loyalty looks like to you. Okay. Like, does loyalty mean gratitude? And if that is so, if you're not receiving gratitude, well, then are you really receiving the loyalty that you're looking for from other people in this situation, okay? Etc. So, like I said, kind of similar to the people that want something to slow down, but it's more like to get things to speed up for those that wanted to go faster. It's like the same mechanism of the advice that I told for them, okay? So just try to harmonize your relationships. Try to stay in harmony with other people. I mean, don't let them, push you around. I mean, listen to your own voice, okay? Because especially for those of you that are like, there's so many cooks in the kitchen here, there's people trying to influence me. Being loyal to other people doesn't mean always going their way. So maybe that's the other thing, is redefining loyalty as a piece of advice as not, always doing what other people tell you to do. Maybe loyalty is well, I guess just taking that out of the equation, because you don't always have to follow what other people tell you to do in order to be their friend or their good family member or their lover, etc. In fact, people that love you would want you to make the choices that you want to make, of course. I mean, they probably, the best intentions in mind for you. Maybe that's why they give you advice, but you know your voice deep down and what you really want deep down, pile 1. So spirit guides are just reminding you, please listen to that. Okay, so either way, for both of you, the answer is through promoting greater harmony, or I should say greater harmony in your relationships, okay? And not being afraid to rely on others. That's another thing with the protection from the Alder message. And now for both of you, this is applying for all groups today. As I said, even though I technically usually read these as the kind of inciting incident cards, they can also be advice in a reading like this. So number 1, think about parts of the situation where you feel trapped and you want to be free from something. That's that devil influence. Where do you feel too locked down? Where do you feel too restrained, like you're kind of in a jail cell of sorts, okay? Also take into account what is what's the word I want to use? Pushing a bad influence on you, because sometimes the devil can mean that too, because it's not just a jail cell or feeling restrained in some way. Sometimes it can be bad influences that are kind of trapping us too. So maybe that's another thing. Maybe you realize the loyalty that you really need is loyalty to yourself in terms of cutting bad people out of your life that are potentially toxic, or they are that jail cell, so to speak, that have been, kind of holding you back or restraining you in some way. Okay, so analyze that too. And think about that part of your life deeply with this situation, and that should also provide some guidance. And then number 2, Page of Wands, as I said when he first came out, he's about creativity, he's about passion, specifically about exploring those things. Also about being confident, because all of the court cards in the wand suit are about confidence, because they're the element of fire, okay? Shining brightly, not being afraid to show our light to other people, our willpower too. So stand in your own willpower in the situation, pile 1. Yes, where applicable, look for harmony relationships, but don't also be afraid to stand up for yourself and show your own willpower, okay? Because that's what a Page of Wands does. Yes, he technically explores creativities and passions, things that he wants to do in terms of really what makes him feel alive, okay? What really gets him up in the morning, what really makes him enthusiastic, or, well, you in the situation, right? You're the Page of Wands, but, and even too, specifically this Page of Wands, you can see he's just cut some firewood on the stump. It's like he's just starting something. So maybe that's what a lot of you are also trying to do, is you're trying to start a project. Keep exploring that then. Okay, because that's another thing with pages, is because they're the court cards of youth, they also represent things that are new or they're young. Okay, so young projects, for those of you that have that as a part of this situation, keep encouraging, keep working at that project, okay? And then too, some of you, as I said too, maybe you're kind of stuck between 2 different choices, because that is one of the more traditional interpretations of the Lovers, is as a choice of some sort, and maybe that's kind of your dilemma. For those of you, I would say follow what your intuition tells you with what choice or what path to go to. Choose the choice or the path that allows you the greater opportunity for gratitude, both in the way of people showing you gratitude and you being able to show others gratitude in the situation. Choose the path that greater protects. Choose the path that allows you to rely on others more, because remember, that's what your Alder card said, not just about protection, but relying on others. And choose the path that allows you to feel more free, that allows you to level up, like the Judgment card says, and choose the path that allows you to explore that thing that you're passionate about. Okay, and that, my friends, is what will help you in this situation. Okay, so this is basically what Spirit is saying. This is what your next step should be based upon. Okay, so make that choice carefully. Navigate your interpersonal relationships carefully. Define what loyalty looks like to you and what loyalty does not look like in your situation. And remember, above all, trust your inner voice with that intuition message, okay? Beautiful. So that was your reading today about clarity on your next steps, advice from Spirit, kind of a peek into this path ahead. And if, You didn't want that particular outcome. Well, how to change it, of course. I hope that this reading helped you. I hope that you liked it. I hope that it resonated with your situation. And if so, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And thank you if you choose to do those things. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye, Pile 1. Hi, Pile 2. Welcome today to your pick a card reading on clarity for your next steps. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to Thunderbird, one of my favorite creatures of folklore, for your pile leader. Very positive sign. Thunderbird are actually often depicted as defenders of humanity against, well, number one, like the great horned serpent, or another being the Mishi Peshu, or the water panther, sometimes it's known as. And it typically represents leadership in this particular deck that it is from. So, let us put your pile leader over here with those things in mind. And we'll first draw your oracle cards today. So, let's do that right now. Oopsie. I'll try that once more. That was not my favorite shuffle in the world. Much better. Okay, spirit guides of pile 2. Wow. That was really fast. We'll take it. Spirit guides of pile 2. What I was going to say, could you tell us more about the situation on their mind? Thing they're wanting clarity on, advice, how it's going to go, etc. But then the card came flying out before I could finish. So I think your guides really, really are eager to speak to you today. Pile 2 is what I'm feeling. So let's keep going with the other decks. And, this one seems right to me. And last but not least, we have the Lenormand. Let's draw 2 from those. Number 1, and actually, I'm going to take the back one for number 2. Beautiful. Okay, thanks for your patience, pile 2, as we drew those. Let's look at your Lenormand first to begin. So we have the child, specifically the boy. And number 2, we have the cat, which is a variant on the dog, if you are familiar with Lenormand. Okay, so this might not resonate with all of you. Take it as it resonates. But typically, Lenormand with the boy represents something literally related to a child of some sort, or some sort of new endeavor, and it being like something young or youthful, whatever project you might be working on. For those of you where that kind of more resonates that way. It can also represent innocence, naivety, sometimes more on the negative. Maybe literally like the situation on your mind is related to a child in your life. It's very possible. And then the cat or dog variant is usually about a friend, or it can mean something regarding loyalty. So loyalty can literally mean, loyalty in terms of interpersonal relationships. Like literally, am I loyal to someone? Are they loyal to me? It can also represent loyalty to a path. So very similar. Pile 1 also got the cat as one of their Lenormand cards. And I'll tell you what I told them today, pile 2. It's very possible that some of you are kind of wondering with loyalty whether you should stay loyal to a certain path or whether you should take a new one. That might be the situation that was on your mind as you came to this reading today, at least for some of you, right? As I said, take it as it resonates. But even combining those 2 cards together, it can mean, loyalty to a child or loyalty to a new project. It can mean, like if someone was really like innocent and loyal in a particular situation that you're wondering about, or you're wondering about like, how do I figure whether or not they were like loyal and innocent? Okay. So keep that in mind. We also have some more cards. So next up is the healing spirits. You have the ability to affect your own destiny. Number 41. Okay. We also have a lot of 4 type numbers. 13 is, 1 plus 3. And then we have 4 here with 41. A lot of 1s too. So individualism. 4 tends to represent stability in numerology, things like that. And even too, when you think about Thunderbird being an opposing force to the Mishi Peshu and the Great Horned Serpent, it's kind of like the balance of the world. So a lot of you might also have a situation on your mind where you're trying to like achieve a balance of some sort. or you're trying to achieve a stability and you're not quite sure how to get to that stability that you're looking for. And even like looking at the literal meaning of your card, though, outside of numerology, you know, having the ability to affect your own destiny. Maybe you're wondering if something is even possible, in which case this card is already a piece of advice to you guys that yes, you can affect your own destiny. Yes, something is possible. Okay, you do have a choice here. If some of you maybe were wondering if you actually even had a choice of some sort with whatever situation's been on your mind, okay? So, pretty good stuff so far. Let's keep going. We have the Dream Ritual Oracle with, closure. So, yeah, that might resonate with some of you who you're kind of wondering, you know, between two different paths or two different choices, in which case this might be a hint to close one path and go to the new one, in which case also the boy, or the child, as I was saying before, means new, which could also be an indicator. Maybe spirit guides are kind of nudging you towards the new path, because we have closure and the new. Or it could be that the situation on your mind is related to also closure in some way. You want to close a door, you want to close a chapter, or because, as I said, the cat / dog in Lenormand represents loyalty in some way. It can also mean maybe you're wondering if you should close a relationship with a friend that maybe, you kind of had a falling out, or you're just not really that connected anymore. Maybe you're wondering, should I leave this behind? Okay, or this person behind, and etc. And then I didn't even talk about your Thunderbird yet. Well, I did a little bit in at least the mythological representation, folklore meaning of it. But in this particular deck, the Folklore Oracle, the Thunderbird main keyword is, leadership. Because of the way that it protects humanity, and because of the way that it stands out being, a sky being, right? It's a bird, right? It flies. Very prominent, but also when it beats its wings, it's said to, that's what causes the sound of thunder, and it has like lightning flashing from its wings. It stands out. So that's why it represents leadership, pile number 2. And specifically, leadership where you, number 1, yes, hold others accountable. So maybe that's kind of, for those of you that are like looking at an interpersonal situation, maybe that's part of what's been going on is you want to hold someone accountable, but you're not sure you can, or, like you want them to be accountable, but they haven't been, etc. And also leadership in terms of being a role model too, shining out and standing out in that way. Maybe some of you are even kind of looking for your goal is really maybe like a managerial position or leading your own company, having your own small business. Maybe it's leadership in that way too. So those are all the themes I am seeing so far in terms of your next steps, this situation in general. And also we talked about advice a little bit, but let's look at your tarot cards that will provide us the most clear situation. So as I described in the intro, a part of this reading will be a little bit about, based on the path you're currently on, where is it going? But just know that with tarot, it provides a snapshot into the future that can be changed for the most part. Okay, so that's where the advice will come in. So I read for pile 1, basically like, if the final outcome card is an outcome that you do not want, I'll kind of interpret it for, those of you that see it that way. And then same thing, if it is an outcome that you do want, it means you're on the right path. However, there might still be advice on the way there. So we'll kind of interpret for both is what I'm trying to say. So first card for you, pile 2, is the 9 of Pentacles reversed. Okay, so this can be an inciting incident or kind of what started this all. And the 9 of Pentacles reversed, I always describe as a situation where you metaphorically put a quarter or a coin into a candy machine, but you did not get the gumball or the candy out. It's a situation where you put effort into something, but you're not really getting all the fruits of your labor out of what you put into it. Okay, so that might be kind of an overarching theme for all of you with this reading as to what you're looking for. You maybe are looking for the fruits of your labor. Maybe you're wondering, why you didn't get that leadership role yet. Or maybe you're wondering, if it's an interpersonal thing, you put so much effort into a particular relationship with somebody and you're like, I'm not really getting out of this loyalty that I'm looking for, or, this closure that I'm looking for. Or, maybe you're not getting the autonomy you're looking for or the leadership you're looking for too. In some way, just to summarize for all of you, you're lacking something that you feel you should deserve based on the effort that you put in. That's what that 9 of Pentacles represents. But let's keep going. We have other cards to draw too, but... Then we have the Queen of Cups. All right. Now, court cards can represent people in the situation. So some of you, a Queen of Cups might represent, especially reversed. Let me make that note. A reversed Queen of Cups can mean there's someone in the situation with feminine energy. probably is a water sign or tends to have a lot of water placements in their astrological chart. And or can mean feminine energy that is maybe not so emotionally mature, specifically in terms of knowing what they want or, how they really feel about something deep down. It can mean like emotional inconsistency, or maybe it's also too that they're kind of emotionally immature in the way that they're not very forthcoming with how, they express how they feel. Maybe that's what's causing this confusion, especially for those of you that are recognizing this as the other party, and say if it is like an interpersonal situation that you're wondering about with, your next steps. It's because maybe like even that person doesn't 100% know what they feel or how to express that, okay? And sometimes too, like, Queen of Cups reversed can mean, if it's not another person, it can mean that you in the situation pile 2 are having a hard time defining what it is you want based on what your heart, maybe you feel kind of like blocked in your heart in terms of even just thinking about what it is, what you want from your heart. Maybe you've been kind of thinking about everything so logically rather than from what your emotions say or what, you really want deep down. Especially for those of you, this is a situation where you're kind of deciding between 2 paths. Maybe the path that you're on has felt like it hasn't been loyal to what your heart really wants deep down, on top of feeling like you're not really getting the fruits of your labor too. So that can, no wonder why you came to this reading if that's kind of the situation or the feeling around what's going on. Okay, so this is leading up to the present. Now let's look at the said present with the heart of the matter. We have the 2 of Pentacles. Can once again represent, maybe like 2 factors in a situation, but traditionally the 2 of Pentacles also represents we're trying to balance something, we're trying to juggle something. And because you have an abundance of Pentacles so far, a lot of you, this might be related to your job or your career, especially if, maybe that leadership is a promotion thing, or, leading your own company, etc. Maybe you're wondering, how do I balance this company or balance my dreams? How do I balance this, maybe even literally in terms of funds? Because the Pentacles cards can mean money too, because they're the earth suit, right? She's trying to figure out, how do I juggle this without having my hands on the handlebars? How do I make sure I balance everything in perfect equilibrium? It can also mean deliberating between 2 choices. So very on, brand for those of you that are deciding between 2 different paths, or, maybe if it's an interpersonal situation, you're kind of wondering, you're balancing the pros and the cons of, do I keep continuing contact with this person or do I not? Do I have the bandwidth to try to figure this out or to try to remedy things with this person, or is it better or healthier just for us to move on? Okay, those kinds of questions are what I would hear, or interpret from a 2 of Pentacles situation. Okay, so now we're getting into the future. We're getting into the stuff where we'll see if maybe it is the outcome you want, maybe it isn't, as well as, we'll interpret everything for advice later too, but first up we have the Emperor. Beautiful. He is a wonderful card, especially upright. Authority, control over a situation. It can also mean positive masculine energy too, especially upright, because it is the masculine energy card in tarot. Can also represent something having structure finally. Maybe something's been kind of nebulous and you're like, oh, I don't know, this is kind of uncertain. Then this means that you're on the path right now towards things becoming more structured and certain and clear in terms of how things are going to be organized is maybe another word I would use with the Emperor upright. Okay. And then we also have in the final position the 2 of Swords reversed. Speaking of deliberating. However, and this is kind of a neutral card when you get it for an outcome, either upright or reversed. Okay, well, what I'll tell you guys is this. No matter what your situation is, right now you are currently on a path towards, yes, greater structure, greater authority, which is great for those of you that are looking for like leadership positions, right? However, the 2 of Swords outcome reversed can mean that we're hesitating to make a choice. Because even when you look at the particular depiction of this 2 of Swords, this is why I like this particular one, on top of the whole deck, but this 2 of Swords especially, is because she's trying to figure out where to point her arrow, but she's blindfolded. She's basically flying blind. She's like, I have no idea where I'm going to shoot this arrow, but I'm going to trust my senses. I'm going to trust my intuition. Okay. Reversed, it can mean we're having blockages with trusting that intuition, with trusting that we know where to land. And so we hesitate to make a decision. So right now, and this might sound kind of a weird outcome, but this is what the 2 of Swords reversed means. No matter what your situation is, you are currently on a path towards indecision in some way. Now, for those of you that are looking for, say, a leadership position, the Emperor is great. It's a great card of authority and having like control over things in a positive manner, not, negative control, right? However, there's some aspect of this where you're still going to feel kind of indecisive in some way. Okay. And now that might mean like you get there and there's still something about that promotion or that small business that you start or, company that you lead where, you like maybe find that you hesitate to make decisions in the role, in which case your advice, pile 2, is to not doubt your authority and to not doubt your intuition when it comes to making choices. Okay, so really, for those of you looking for leadership or authority, you're on the right path. It's just that you have a little bit of an asterisk from spirit guides here saying, but don't doubt yourself when you get there. Don't get imposter syndrome. Make decisions more decisively, okay? A little bit quicker, right? No pressure. Make sure you look everything through, right? But when you already know that you have all the information you can, or you can, gather, make decisions more decisively. That will help you in the situation, okay? For those of you that it's not a leadership-related thing, if it's not related to, a promotion, etc., you're doing your own thing, like say you are trying to decide between 2 paths. Spirit guides are telling you choose the path towards greater stability, okay? Because remember, we were talking about before all those 4s that popped up. I just remembered you also got the Emperor, which is 4 in the major arcana, which also represents stability, okay? Balance and things as well, just like the 2 of Pentacles. For those of you that are choosing between those 2 things, it would be better to make the decision earlier, not to wait, because then you won't get to that, 2 of Swords reverse energy of like, oh, I'm still indecisive. Choose earlier and choose the path that has greater stability, greater balance, okay? And then 2, I'm trying to think of the other situations too. Like I said, some of you, it might be like an interpersonal related matter that you're kind of wondering like next steps on, in which case I would say, ooh, that's kind of a tough one for interpersonal. Let me think about that for a second, pile 2. Stand in your authority too. Say, like, if it's an interpersonal situation and someone brings to the situation, like they're trying to control everything, then the Emperor would be a reminder for you to take back control or authority over yourself. Okay, or it could also mean too with the 2 of Swords reversed that like if you're waiting for someone to make a decision and they've been kind of inconstant or inconsistent about it, that could mean like you're on the path currently right now where they're still gonna not make a decision. Like one example coming to mind is like if you are dating someone and you're wondering are we going to get to the next level, so to speak, of, this particular relationship, whatever that means to you, then the 2 of Swords reversed outcome would mean currently they're on the path towards not making a decision or kind of being nebulous in terms of not really deciding one way or the other. Now, if you don't want that, pile 2, if you're like, no, I want this, then in terms of like them making a decision, stand in your authority with the Emperor. Don't be afraid to put your foot down, okay? Because Emperor is like father energy. It's literally like the father card, okay? And a father basically would say, okay, let's cut out all this nebulous stuff. Let's cut all the, hemming and hawing, and maybe as in, like the 2 of Swords reverse says. An Emperor is the father who puts his foot down and says, okay, what's the decision? Now. Tell me now. Okay, that kind of situation. Especially if you're kind of wondering like someone's intentions, or you're wondering, things like along those lines of their indecisiveness and trying to sleuth out what they really are looking for, okay? And in general, for all of you today, no matter what your situation is, based on these tarot cards, focus on stability and balance. Focus on closure. Remember that Oracle card too. Focus on stepping into your power, because you had that kind of twice with both the Emperor and then also the Thunderbird, because as I said, that's an authority card, just like the Emperor is, or leadership too. Don't be afraid to follow your heart. And don't be afraid to walk away from situations where, as I said with the Nine of Pentacles reversed, you feel like you're putting your quarter or coin into that candy machine, but you're not getting that gumball or that candy out. That is an unfair situation for you, pile 2. And you're well within your right to say, hey, wait a minute, based on this effort I put in, I should be getting this out of it. So why am I not getting this out of it? Then identify that. And then going forward, ask yourself, is this a situation where I can see myself getting the fruits of my labor out of it? If not, walk away. Remember your power. And that's the other thing too, even your, Healing Spirits Oracle, going back to that. Sorry, it's kind of covered with everything. You have the ability to affect your own destiny. That's kind of like the final capstone of advice for everybody today on this pile. It's similar to the Emperor and the Thunderbird in terms of the leadership message, but it also is kind of a side message of, not just that authority, but your power. I think a lot of you are forgetting your own power in whatever situation you're wanting clarity on. You're forgetting the capability that you have to go after and seek what it is that you're desiring or that you want. If you remember that power and you're not afraid to grasp it and step into that power, you will probably find that you get to the better outcome that you're looking for, the one that you want, okay? So do not be afraid to stand out. Don't be afraid to say, I deserve more. Don't be afraid to say, this is my boundary. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm going to need a little bit more here, or this is what I actually want, okay? Because actually, that Queen of Cups reverse might have also been you, pile 2. It might have been you not really broadcasting loud enough what it is that you feel deep down that you want. So turn that Queen of Cups right side up and say, you know what, world? This is what my heart says, and so I'm going to allow that energy through my words and let it out and say, this is what I desire, this is what I'm looking for, and this is my right based on the effort that I put into whatever the situation is, okay? Beautiful message for today, pile 2. I hope, of course, you liked it. It resonated with your situation, and number 1, that it helped you, because that was the whole point of this reading, right? And if so, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much if you choose to do those things. And as we always say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day of being not afraid to step into your power and authority, right? Setting boundaries, etc., looking for stability, looking for closure. Getting what you deserve, number 1. Remember that too. Okay? And I hope to see you in the next reading, pile 2. Bye. Hi there, pile number 3. Welcome to your clarity on your next steps reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the Black Shuck as your pile leader, although there are many different incarnations of like black dog kind of beings around the world. But I think this is specifically the one, particularly I think it's found in England. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if you'd like to, but I think it's like an English type of folktale. But that being said, let us put your Black Shuck over here to the left. And we'll begin your reading with drawing your main oracle cards. So calling on your spirit guides for the situation you're looking for clarity on. What's going on, advice they want you to know. Where is it going to go? Or how to change the path if it goes to a place that you're not currently seeking. Beautiful. And then we have the Healing Spirits Oracle. Okay, very prominently that one. And actually, our last Oracle deck today is technically the Lenormand. So, not really Oracle, but you get what I mean, pile 3, right? We'll be using it kind of as an oracle. Okay, there's number 1 and number 2. Let's reveal your cards. Thank you for your patience as I shuffled everything. First up to bat, we have the Cross. And your second Lenormand today is, oh, how cute, we have the Clover. Very fitting, especially for the time of year, if you do watch this when it's uploaded around St. Paddy's Day. But traditionally speaking, the Cross in Lenormand tends to represent, it can mean spirituality in some way. Of course, it is a spiritual symbol. But on top of that, the cross can represent a burden of some sort, something that we've been carrying that is heavy. Now, the clover, my friends, tends to represent kind of what it says on the tin, as we always culturally associate with them. Luck, number one, but also a gift of some sort, finding something that you didn't expect, just like you would find a 4-leaved clover. So now this might not resonate with all of you, but these 2 Lenormand cards can indicate that some of you at least are currently looking at a situation where you're looking for clarity in terms of relieving a burden through luck of some sort, or trying to relieve a burden regarding, sometimes it can mean like finances with luck, because I know specifically it looks like there's like a coin there underneath the clover, so that can mean, of course, money, right? Maybe you're trying to find a way to increase the money that you're making, increase your finances in some way, your luck with your career, etc. And then too, for those of you, maybe, did come to this reading with a spiritual question, in which case that might mean that you're wondering about the luck of something regarding that spiritual question or situation at hand, okay? Or you're wondering if maybe something was just luck. Maybe it's that kind of thing too, but let's keep going. We'll look at your other cards for the full picture. We have, when it feels right, do it, number 32. And you do have a lot of 3s and 2s in this reading, if you would like to look into the numerology of that. Of course, I always associate personally 3 with groups of people, and 2 with like balance in some way. And this is actually probably a bit of a peak of advice, although of course we will see more of that later with the tarot cards. But like it says on the tin, when it feels right, do it. So if you're in a situation when you're wondering when to do something, the answer is pile 3 is when it feels right. And you're maybe asking, well, how do I know when it feels right? Usually it's when you get a really good, strong gut feeling to do it. When your gut, your intuition says, hey, wait a minute, now is the time. Okay, so let's keep going. But that is a piece of advice already. From the Dream Ritual Oracle, we have strength. We have a ship on the lashing seas, even a bit of storms. However, the ship persists. It keeps going despite the rough seas, despite the lightning above it. Maybe you have been going through a situation where it kind of feels like that, especially maybe if finances are involved, pile 3, which my condolences if so. Never fun to deal with. Obviously, financial issues can cause a lot of stress, so never fun, as I said. But you've been holding on. You've been enduring, it seems like, and, maybe part of this card is, basically your spirit guide's indicating that you're looking for a way to strengthen your finances or strengthen your stability in that way as well. Or strengthen yourself in some way, or when you're wondering, maybe like, when will this finally end? How can I get this time of turmoil to end? Which kind of actually leads into your pile leader. Now, I didn't describe the black shuck yet, although some of you, if you understand the folklore of the black shuck or similar figures like, the Mawdadu from, say the Isle of Man, also similar kind of black dogs. I think even America here has some black dog symbolism or like folklore, etc. Anyways, folklore aside, basically it is a premonition of some sort or an omen. It's one of those omen beings. And specifically in this deck, the black shuck represents the idea of caution. Like you can see here, it's almost like the viewpoint character in this card is walking along a path through the woods. And all of a sudden this black shuck comes out and we're like, oh. Should I be cautious? Is that a sign of something? Maybe that's what the Lenormand meant, is you saw something and you're like, is it a sign of something spiritually? Okay. Can also mean that you're worried about something in terms of, you're walking along and you're like, is this black dog going to cross my path? Is this an omen of bad things to come? Because, it can be an omen of negative things, technically, in the original folklore at least. But the twist on this card, at least in this deck, is it doesn't necessarily mean that bad things are coming. It just means, as a piece of advice, to be cautious about something. Hence, caution being its keyword, okay? Think things through, don't cut corners, is another really prominent piece of advice with this card that you were drawn to for your pile leader today. So we already have that 2 little pieces of advice. Don't rush things, think it through, be cautious, and when it feels right, do it. But we do have your tarot cards coming up here. I was going to say Toracle there. That's why I said Tor all of a sudden. And then I was like, well, I wonder if that could ever be a deck name, a Toracle. Combined tarot and oracle. Anyways, silly thoughts aside with my weird stuttering that one point. Okay, let us see. We have the Five of Wands reversed. Some of you might have a situation where... could be conflict of some sort. Some of you might have been going through a situation where you... like there's been interpersonal conflict or arguing about something. Now, I will say the Five of Wands tends to be a little bit more lighthearted than, say, if you've got the Five of Swords, because that's like the cutting argument or the cutting battle. But like Five of Wands tends to be more people are just like butting heads. But it can mean as an inciting incident or like what started all of this that led you to worry or kind of want to change whatever this is that you're looking for clarity on, that there was just like conflict or butting of heads in general. Okay. It can also be competition. So very possible maybe like for those of you that are going through financial struggles right now, the problem is mainly competition. So like say you're looking for a job and other people keep getting offered the jobs that you interviewed for as one example, or maybe you are worried about getting laid off and there's kind of like a competitive side to your workplace where you're like, oh God, we got to all compete. So, we're not the ones on the chopping block when the layoffs come through, or that kind of fearful situation. Okay. Something along those lines. It's like interaction and competition with other people or butting heads with other people caused some of these worries, I think. And then we have the Two of Pentacles reversed. Okay, makes total sense, especially for those of you that have been going through, say, financial difficulties or worried about losing, say, a job or finding a job. Two of Pentacles reversed can mean that we're having trouble balancing our finances, or we're having trouble in terms of like deliberating, like, well, where do I go to find like the right job if you're currently seeking, for example, or, it can also mean, you having to deliberate between, okay, well, I only have so much money for doing like this one thing, and I got to pick this one thing or the other because budgets are kind of like tight right now, etc. Like those kinds of things. It's like balancing out your finances, trying to figure out a middle road based on the current situation. Juggling things too. Maybe you've been really busy as well. Maybe that's also been kind of causing this issue that you're looking for clarity on. It's why it has been stormy seas too. Maybe on top of that, maybe your job has been really stressful and busy at the same time where you've had to juggle a lot of things. And then, yes, okay. I can see why you came to this reading, especially with this card, because the Six of Wands reversed represents we feel like we lost at something. We feel in the present position, so this is your current state, pile 3, we feel as if we did not find the victory that we were looking for. So say you were looking for a job, didn't get it. Obviously, that's kind of a very, it's a good example of what the Six of Wands reversed might feel like, is like, oh, I didn't get the public acclaim I was looking for. Oh, I did not get the victory I was seeking, okay? Or whatever your situation is. No wonder why you clicked on the reading, because you're like, oh man, not a fun place to be in with this situation. I can totally understand and feel sympathy for what you're going through here, pile 3. So once again, no fun. My condolences for whatever is going on. But let's look into the future, and we'll see what path you're currently on, where it's going towards. So this is like the next steps part. And mind you, if there's a part of it that you're like, I don't want that outcome, that's where the advice will come in. So... we have, beautiful, the Ace of Swords. Well, I will tell you this. That is a good sign. Let me talk about it in a second, because I will draw your last card before I expand on it. And then we have the Eight of Wands reversed. Now, interesting, pile 1 also got this as their outcome today. And I'll tell you the same thing I told them. And it's going to actually split your reading kind of into 2 different groups, sort of. 2 subgroups. It's not a bad sign, though. It's just really depending on what you want. So, number 1, no matter, don't look about the outcome right now. We'll talk about the Eight of Wands in a second. No matter what, in the near future with the Ace of Swords, you are currently near new energy of some sort, especially when it comes to communication or when it comes to something that's like logical or like a logical decision of some sort. So if you are currently wondering if someone's going to reach out to you communication-wise, an Ace of Swords is a very good sign of a message, because it is air energy, which is, as we said, communicating in some way, right? The Ace of Swords can also mean that, if we're trying to figure out how to do something or how to go forward with something, it can mean literally we get the right idea or the new idea at the right time. seemingly as, from above. Usually what that means is your spirit guides are helping you. They drop it in your head, right? But, but literally, that's what the Ace of Swords represents, because if you look at the traditional Rider-Waite Tarot, it's like a hand holding the thing out, or the sword, I guess, technically, right? A hand from heaven. So that is something that is a blessing, I will say, that is coming to you based on the path that you're currently on. Now we're getting into the neutral territory of the Eight of Wands reversed, but as I said, pile 3, it is not a bad sign. If you want something to slow down, you are on the right path towards whatever that is. Okay? Because the Eight of Wands reversed typically represents something is slowing its pace. Now, some of you might be like, no, I don't want that. I want things to go faster. I want something to happen quicker, especially like, if you're having financial difficulties, maybe that's why you came to this reading, or, you want to get hired for a job if you're currently seeking. You're like, man, go quicker, universe. Get it to me, stat. I need this job. Then this is where the advice will kick in for you. It's kind of two groups, right? So even if you are of the group where you want something to slow down, there's still advice in this reading that might apply to you. So just hear me out as we go along, kind of explaining everything for the people that want things to speed up. They don't want this current outcome. Okay. So number 1, let's especially look at these cards back here. Well, I will repeat. Piece of advice number 1 to get to the best outcome is be cautious, as the Black Shuck talked about. Don't cut corners, okay? Don't rush things when it comes to your next steps ahead. And think things through thoroughly, okay? So, for example, if, you are looking for a job and you want one faster, you're like, I don't want that slowdown. You're like, I want that interview quicker and that hiring quicker. If that is your case, pile 3, then it might be a good idea to, before your next interview, study up on the job and study up on what your answers might be a little bit more than you did in the past. Okay. Also, it might be a really good idea to really emphasize to the interviewer, or interviewers plural, right? Because sometimes you have jobs that are like multiple rounds of interviews, and those are grueling. But anyways, they do happen. In that case, pile 3, what I would say is be very careful to think through your answers every time you answer whatever the interviewer asks you. Also, try to illustrate the quality of caution within yourself to the interviewer, because I think, it really does depend on your particular job that you're interviewing for, whatever your career field is, but whatever it is, pile 3, I think showing that you are a cautious, careful person, that you don't cut corners, that you do quality work, that you might not go the fastest, speaking of the Eight of Wands reversed, but if you emphasize, I will give you, interviewer or manager or whatever, high quality work, I think that might help you get a job, or get that particular job that you're looking for faster. Now, that's just one example for those of you that are looking for a position. Okay. For those of you that say you are worried about layoffs, maybe you currently have a job, but everything has been kind of shaky, or you heard some rumors, you're like, I don't know. Be cautious. Your advice is very much the same. Although I would kind of tweak it to think in terms of, don't rush to prove yourself, because if you rush, you might cut corners and you might make a mistake that, I won't say it won't necessarily affect whether or not you're a part of the layoff or not, but just in general, take it slow, take it steady, focus on quality over quantity here with your job, if that's kind of more what your worries are that you're looking for clarity on. Okay, pile 3. Also, don't be afraid to introduce new ideas, whether you are interviewing for a job, or, you want to, avoid a layoff at a current job. That's what Ace of Swords also means. Don't be afraid to introduce new ideas. It's kind of almost, in fact, if I could rename the Ace of Swords, I'd call it the light bulb card. It's like a light bulb with an idea. Okay. come across as innovative, come across as I am someone who has solutions that are new and not just the old things that don't work, okay? That's another really great piece of advice that your spirit guides are handing you here. And also, I will say this. Because you did not get, say, an outcome that was like the Tower upright, or you didn't get the Six of Wands reversed as the outcome. You got it as the heart of the matter, so it's kind of tainting the reading in terms of how you're feeling right now, but you didn't get that as an outcome, you know, and you didn't get, like, say, like the Devil as the outcome, any of those negative cards, etc. I do not see a bad outcome with whatever situation you're going through. And I think that's what you probably need to hear most right now, because you're like, things are kind of sketchy, things have been kind of tough, things are like, I'm worried, right? Whatever has been going on with you, or whatever situation. I do see things turning out okay, because, hear me out, the way that you would interpret these two Lenormand cards together, you kind of string them together like words in a sentence, it would mean something that has been burdening you finds luck. AKA, there will be luck that you will receive with a burden that you're currently going through. Okay? That's a really good sign. You also have the Strength card here with your Dream Ritual Oracle. That can be a card of, you know, not only commending you for the strength of what you've been going through, for the way that you've not broken down, the way that you've not, you've kept going, you didn't give up, you know, all those things, and you've weathered through these hard times. Well, number one, pat yourself on the back. It's another piece of advice your spirit guides are saying, because maybe you don't pat yourself on the back enough, pile 3, so do that if you don't. But also number 2, strength means the ability to withstand that which might break the weaker. And therefore, inherently, what that says to me is you're almost like the ship on the lashing sea underneath the storm. You're going to make it to port fine. AKA, I think you will land where you need to be for what you're looking for in this situation. So, though some of you might not want it to slow down, you might not want that Eight of Wands reversed outcome. It's not necessarily a bad outcome either way. However, you can make things go faster, taking the advice into account that I was bringing up earlier, okay? But even if you just throw out all of this advice, I think you'll still get there for what you're looking for. It just might happen slower, okay? So turn that around, do all this other stuff. And remember, above all, pile 3, that Healing Spirits Oracle, when it feels right, do it. I say this all the time. Might be a cliche at this point, not just on my channel, but in general, as we talk about in our everyday lives. Your intuition is your best guide. Your intuition is your best North Star when it comes to figuring out when, where, why, and how to do certain things. So, say you're interviewing for a job. When it feels right to bring something up or to say something, do it. Remember caution, but your intuition, I think, will lead you right in this situation. If you are currently afraid of layoffs and you're like, I need to prove my worth more at this particular company or whatever, say you do get a new idea with that Ace of Swords and you're like, my intuition is telling me maybe I should bring that up today to my manager or people on the project that I'm working on. When it feels right, do it. Mention the idea when you can. When it feels right, your gut says, yes, today is the day. Or in general, even if you're not necessarily resonating with those particular 2 situations, because as I said, pile 3, this reading might not resonate with everybody in the exact examples that I provide. Whatever your situation is, you'll weather through fine. There is signs of, or I should say, are signs of luck here with the situation, the outcome. As long as you take it slow and steady, remember your caution with the Black Shuck. And remember, follow new ideas. And don't be afraid to, when your gut tells you this is the time, listen to it and do it. Okay. Now let me see, are there any other pieces of advice here for you? Sometimes in the readings today, I've been taking the earlier cards as also advice on top of, them being cards explaining, the path leading up to what's been going on. In which case, for those of you especially that get a new idea in your mind, and it's something regarding bringing greater balance to something, that is also a really good sign that that is a good idea. I'm saying that because of the Two of Pentacles is kind of standing out to me, especially reversed. Oh, and I'm hearing one last thing. To remember your victories. Although you might feel right now as if you have not won something, that you've not gotten the victory you've been looking for, because that is your present position with the Six of Wands reversed. It can also be a card of advice to remember where you have been victorious. Okay? And also to remember that there are victories even in what we perceive as losses. Okay? You know, even if you interviewed for a job, you really wanted it, you didn't get it, which, you know, my condolences, pile 3, that really sucks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it doesn't suck, and neither are your spirit guides. But at the same time, you know, ask yourself, what is something that I did in that interview that I'm really proud of myself for? Okay. Or whatever the situation is. Where you found yourself not winning, acknowledge the situation in terms of, even if I didn't get the big win, where did I still succeed? Even if in the smallest of ways. Okay, that's another piece of advice. Because that will, I think, part of it is your spirit guides are basically saying you need to boost your own confidence again. This loss or this lack of victory does not define the future. And I can tell you that right now as a tarot reader, literally, like, the Eight of Wands is, you know, that neutral card. You'll still get there. Okay? No matter what. So keep that in mind. Pat yourself on the back for what you've been through, and pat yourself on the back for what you've done. Very beautiful, pile 3. So, I hope that reading helped you. Number 1, that's the biggest goal we had today for our reading, being a clarity reading, but also that you liked it and that it resonated in some way. And if so, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and thank you if you choose to do those things. And, as we say in our tradition on the channel, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading, pile 3. Bye.